Namaste, my dear friends. Namaste, Sachiyo. Welcome to our series of the Viniyoga woman. This is the 10th interview we are doing, and we are so privileged and honored to have Sachiyo from Japan. This is Sachiyo Munechika from Japan. Namaste, Sachiyo. How are you feeling today?
Namaste, Kausthub. My name is Sachiyo Munechika from Tokyo, Japan. I'm feeling so fine. I'm so thrilled to talk about all the questions Kausthub asked me.
I'm so glad to hear that you are enthusiastic because, my dear friends, I had to convince Sachiyo for about 1.5 to 2 months to accept to be part of this interview, and I'm so happy that finally she has agreed to it. Um, Sachiyo and I go back so long time ago. I think we were discussing that we first met in 2004, which is about 17 years ago. That's a long time for at least some of us who are still youngish, not young, but youngish. So it's a long time, and we are very thrilled to have that Sachiyo is continuing to represent the Viniyoga tradition in Japan, and she has a great number of students following her. So we are very happy to have this conversation. So Sachiyo, would you be kind enough to begin our session today with the chanting? And dear friends, just let us know through your comments if you can hear us well, if you can see us well, etc. Namaste, friends. Sachiyo.
For this interview and for this wonderful tradition.
Thank you.
Let's begin with chanting Sahana Vavatu. Om Sahana Vavatu. Tejasvinavadhi kamastu ma pit pirshavahai om shanti shanti shanti.
Thank you so much, Sachiyo, for this wonderful chanting, which is a very popular chant in India. And so, friends, we are very, very glad to have this interview with Sachiyo. Sachiyo is a wonderful teacher who is teaching in Tokyo, Japan. And she has been studying in this tradition for a long time. As I told you, we are knowing each other for almost 17 years now. And that's 2 decades almost. And it's a long time. And she's teaching in a wonderful studio that she's running together with her friends and colleagues. And I will ask her to say those things about herself through her own words. So Sachiyo,
yes.
Maybe many people outside of Japan don't know you. So if you don't mind, you could share a small introduction about yourself and tell us more interestingly in this introduction how you are introduced to the Viniyoga tradition and how you have sustained and continued that for so long.
Wow, this first question is very big. It's going to be make me emotional as well. But first, I just tell to everyone about myself. I just introduce myself. My name is Sachiyo Munechika. teaching Tokyo in Japan. Recently, I've been running few teacher trainings and introduction to yoga therapy, and teaching private classes and Vedic chanting classes. And recently, I'm working on to publishing a translation, Japanese translation of the How to Be Yoga. And yes, and it's been fortunate that I've been in this tradition, and then keep studying with Kausthub and all the family. And I'm really thrilled to share my experience and my opinion towards this interview. Yes, and how I met this tradition. Yes. Where shall I begin? Shall I begin from the very beginning? I tried to sum up, and because it's going to be a long story.
It's okay to have long stories. We have time.
Yes, I try not to make it bored, at least. So anyway, I met yoga when I was in 20s, and that time I was going through my dark age of my life, and I thought I've to continue like that, and then my life would end like that. And I was in such a bad loop of my life. And then very fortunately, I met yoga. And when I started, I literally felt the door is open, the door of my life opened. And I was fascinated, and then continued practice. And it was really wonderful. And one of my close friends introduced me a book again called The Heart of Yoga of Your Father. And when I read that, I felt this is the exact reason that I'm doing yoga. I'm practicing yoga. But the time your father's existence was so far away, just like a dream. So I just continued my practice. Then after some time, since I was dancer before when I was younger, and so I could do most of the asana quite easily. So for that time teacher asked me to assist the class or try to make me a teacher. And I was very uncomfortable about it. And I was very suspicious too. And I didn't have any knowledge or ability to teach someone else. And also, moreover, I didn't feel, I didn't get anything that I need from yoga. And even though I can do many difficult posture, I didn't get anything from myself, the inside. So I just decided to leave the teacher, and then started to find the right class for me, right teachers for me, just keep searching. And I went outside of Japan. I even went to United States to practice yoga and everything. But I couldn't find anyone. And one day I remember about the book, The Heart of Yoga. I purchased the book, and I read the book alone inside my house. Then very beginning of the book, even before the forward, your father write one sentence, this most of you know this sentence, but he wrote to I dedicated the Heart of Yoga to T Krishnamacharya, who taught me how to be a good yoga student.
Yeah.
And this sentence just struck my heart that time. And I just cried. I cried like a baby, and I didn't know why. And then even though this was just very, very beginning of the book, that was enough for me. I just closed the book for some time. Then, but still this time I felt your father was just far away. It's like almost not existing in this world. But after some time, again, my friend told me that he's still teaching one-on-one class in India. And I thought, wow, one-on-one class. Then I felt yoga should be taught one-on-one, not one-to-group. And this is the teaching I want to learn, and I went to take the class. Then, but still, your father was very far. Then after some time, I still couldn't my right teacher, and I right practice anything. So I decided to apply the international course. It was happening at the KYM at the time. And then they replied me that it's full. And so I am on the waiting list. I didn't surprise because it's such a renowned teacher's school. And I just leave it and then try to search different teachers again. And I almost decided to take teacher training. It's happening in United States for 2 weeks. And yes, and I was about to make a payment for the course. The KYM sent me the email. Your spot is available now. Welcome. So I was so shocked, really going to the school. I was not sure yet. And I looked up the website again, but I don't know if you remember it, Kausthub. The time, the KYM's website was like, it didn't have any information. It was like a website of some corporation, like yoga school. And I had no idea what kind of things I could learn from the school, or is it really okay that I go? But compared to that, this website or advertisement from the United States is very clear, and all this fascinating brochure and everything. So I really wondered which I should take. Also, it was first time India for me, and I have to travel to India. And I always thought I don't need to go to India to study yoga. So, and it's such a mystery country. Can I really go? And I also need to quit my job because it was 1 month's course. In Japan, to taking a 1 month leave is just quitting job. So I have to make a big decision. So I thought a lot. And I just try to calm myself down, and I see myself, and what I saw was very clear. I was very unhappy, even though I practiced yoga for many years. I didn't know how to be happy, and I was oversensitive, and like I couldn't even get off to one certain station in Tokyo because I hated the smell or noise and the energy, everything. And I become oversensitive. And I even felt maybe the people who don't do yoga is happier because they don't care about it. So I finally decided that now I'm very unhappy, but I know that I can be happier through yoga. Yoga has much more power. And also, even though I don't know what they teach me, this teaching of Krishnamacharya and your father is enough. Maybe this is my failure, but it's okay. I just go. So I sent an email to confirm my spot to KYM, and I went. Then I took the class, and at the time you are teaching us the lecture class. It was asana theory, and and the pranayama therapy, how luxury. And every time with such a, one day you were teaching us like that, very passionate. And then your father stepped into the class and saying, Kausthub, what are you doing? I can hear your voice to my house. Then he just stayed there watching the class. And Kausthub was didn't talk anything that's special, like you were just theory of asana. But as I watching you are teaching us, I couldn't stop crying just watching it. And your father was also there. You both were just standing and teaching. That was enough for me. I don't know why, but I couldn't stop crying. And I was the only one crying in the class because there was nothing dramatic there. Yeah. Yes, and also sorry, but very clearly is that, like I said, before I went to the course, I was very sensitive, and I hated Tokyo, being Tokyo. And somewhat you taught in a class, because when you study in India, you can hear all the noises from outside, all the vendors and the honk from the cars and the people calling someone's name out loud. Then you said, "Whoa, what a beautiful sound, what a beautiful noise. I love my country," like that. And it really hit me. And wow. And I don't know, since then, when I was staying there for about 1 month and a half, something like that. Mostly I was crying, and I was like small child there. And yes, and since then, it's like my home, So I don't know if I can tell the introduction to this teaching, but yes, that's how I got here.
That's very good. Very good, Sachiyo. And I'm so sorry that my teaching was so bad that you started crying. I think I think you and your classmate Vanessa from Argentina were the two girls who were always crying in my classes.
Yes.
Remember the two girls.
Yes.
Crying. Yeah.
Yes. We are saying each other that, oh, we are very much emotional ones.
And Sachiyo.
Yes.
So what sustained you? Like, what is unique according to you in this Viniyoga tradition that has sustained you for so long? Because before you were saying that you were not satisfied with the yoga that you were learning before. So what is it that has sustained you so long? What is unique about this tradition? What is resonating in your heart?
Yes, I want to raise 3 points. 3 things. One is just that this teaching, respecting and honoring individual potential and uniqueness. And this is the most thing I resonate the most, because I also believe in the precious potential and the value of each individual, and then it should be lived in this world. And through this teaching, we could do this. And so that is one point. And also I really feel that I'm very lucky that this is like embodiment of my belief and what I want to do. So I feel very fortunate and that I can teach with this tradition as well. And also this is a very, very long time tradition. And usually from my experience or my knowledge, tradition can be very rigid and very strict. But what I see and have felt and experienced is this teaching is very, very warm and kind and flexible too. And this in this teaching, every time and everywhere, humanity and love towards the people is underlying. And that's really touched the people, of course, to me. I don't see anywhere else that it has this much of care and concern towards the individual. That's really I didn't really see anywhere else. And also teacher and the student relationship. You introduced me that I'm a teacher trainer, and yes, I'm running a teacher training. And if I say this, I think I'm not fit to the teacher trainer, but I often say to the trainee, even though you understand and you can memorize all the perfect Shikshana sequence, or you can memorize or experience beautifully the Yoga Sutra, if you don't understand or experience the student-teacher relationship, I cannot certificate as a teacher of this tradition, because I believe that, of course, all the technique and the knowledge is very important, but what I experience from you and your family is this connection and relationship. And I understand that all this technique and the knowledge is become very weak and almost useless without these relationships. That relationship sustains the yoga. So it's like between all the yoga sutras, and that sustains the yoga. So without this, I strongly, deeply believe that this connection is really the heart of the yoga.
Excellent. Sachiyo, I want to ask you a question from what you said a little earlier. You said that father said that he was thanking Krishnamurti to make him be a better student. So you came to India all these years ago, and you've been studying yoga for so many years. Do you feel that you have become a better teacher, or do you feel you have become a better student? First question, and then I have a follow-up question.
Myself. Okay. First, I certainly become a better teacher. Not only, if I'm not too arrogant to say, the first, not only technical wise, but I learned to wait, or I learned to see, observe. I keep learning, of course, and also I keep learning how to equip all the tools and tailor the practice to each student. For that, I can say that I'm a better teacher. And if I'm a better student, I hope I can say yes, but I could be better. I can be better.
So my follow-up question to that is, in your view, what defines a better student? What makes a better student?
I think one is being honest. Being honest to the teacher and then to yourself as well. From there, you interact. From your heart, you interact with the student and teacher. Then not to listen to the teacher's guidance, you take it from your heart. And what I want to say is like, not to blind the face to your teacher, but if you connect with your heart towards your teacher, you can face to the teacher from your heart. And I think that is very important.
That's very, very good. Because that is why the heart of yoga is very important, because unless your heart is open, you cannot learn. So if your heart is not open, you cannot be a good student.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. So,
because I remember, sorry.
Go on.
Oh, sorry. Because I remember I closed myself to you before, and then that time I couldn't grow. I couldn't get anything, and then I was, but at the time I didn't know I closed myself. I couldn't say no to you, but now I can say no, and so I declined this interview before, like you said. Yes, but this is very small thing, but yes, the being able to be honest is very, very important, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Sachiyo, the next question I have is, tell us a little bit about the uniqueness of teaching Viniyoga in Japan. So Japan is very culturally close to India in some ways, especially in the spiritual domain, much different from, let's say, Western societies, more farther away from Indian culture. Japan is much more closer to the Indian culture in certain things, like we have similar spiritual belief systems and similar rituals. So how is it teaching Viniyoga in Japan? What is your experience been? Is it easy to teach, or are there some challenges and things like that?
Yes, it is very interesting topic, and that my answer is yes and no. Like you said, we share the very similar culture. Then I remembered one of the Vedic chanting teachers told me when she was trying to explain about elements, and she said, "Oh, you are Asian, so I don't need to explain the details. I know you feel it." Like that, we kind of share the feeling of those things, and I feel it's very, very lucky. And then I deeply, naturally believe that we can feel and more easily to understand the concept of the yoga, or of course we need to practice, but it's very close link we have, and it's so that we could gain so much from the yoga as well, and this teaching too. And one of the things I really appreciate from this tradition is the preciousness and of this teaching. And the people who understand what I said earlier, like all the tools that to respecting the individuals, and then this humanity, and also the student and the teacher relationship, they just embrace these teachings very, very well, profound way. But in Tokyo or Japan, even though we have this very, very great soil of, this spirituality, also we have modern society mind as well. So they want, quick result. They only see the benefit, and they can't feel, or they don't have the space to feel this preciousness. And I want to deliver, or at least I want them to feel this yoga is something not to, you take, but teacher should teach you. Teacher should allow you to learn. And this preciousness is there. But it's very difficult to teach, and I shouldn't force it as well, and I don't want to. So I just I try to see how much and what they want. But if they or some people are open to it, I think they have more potential to gain the benefit from this teaching. That is a challenge for us.
It's interesting, isn't it, that Japan is in such an interesting position in its own history and social structure, because prior to the World War II, the Japan had a very strong and proud culture of its own. And then after the war, the cultural genocide happened, and Japan lost a lot of its connection to its culture, and it started to follow the rules and others were imposing on this. However, what I'm seeing is now recently in the last few years, Japan is waking up back to its own traditional system and its anchors, and Japan is looking more towards inside itself and also to old cultures like India, for example, to somehow revive its own deep roots. Is this also your feeling? What do you feel?
Yes. Certainly, there are those people who start to appreciate what we have as well. So I see, like you also see, I see there's such a potential in this country. So I always have hope, and I have so much vision that I want to do in Japan. So I really hope that some of them or everything can come true in the future.
That's very good. I'm very happy that you have a lot of dreams and visions about it, and we hope that you will achieve it. Such a question I do have, it's very important as well to understand, especially since this interview is about Viniyoga women. Normally, the outside world perceives Japan as a very, very patriarchal culture, which means a lot of male dominance in the culture, in the society, in the social hierarchy, etc. Yet you are in a very unique position being a woman trainer of yoga. How do you feel? How do you feel being a woman trainer in a very patriarchal society, and how do you manage it?
My answer is it's not difficult at all. Fortunately, I think, because in Japan there are many women teachers and trainers, so I don't feel any pressure or underestimated or anything like that. In yoga field in Japan, it seems quite equal, but since you are raising the topic, I see that it's more in general, like women are more suppressed. Like they have so much to say, but they don't say that to their husband or partners. And you always say to when you have the seminar to Japanese students, the problem of politeness. And this is a very, very important topic for us. And it's really suppressed women and to be themselves. Yes, I see that through the practice, and they started to feel they are suppressing, they didn't express, I have something here, and then started to express that.
Do you think that there are any changes you have seen among your students since they have started working with you or practicing Viniyoga, etc., that their expression has actually improved?
Yes.
You feel that? And if so, yes. What has changed? How has it changed?
First, they feel more safe and to be themselves first. And I'm okay to be like this. I'm okay to become angry, or I am allowed to feel everything, or I am nurtured, and not from the husband, but more bigger things. And then first they acknowledge that. Then again they started to acknowledge their feeling. But interesting thing is, after they take this process, they don't need to express this anger. Actually, they change the view, or they change how to relate to the problem or to the husband or partners. So that is really beautiful when I see it.
That's wonderful. I'm so happy to hear, and I've also seen this among some of our wonderful Japanese students, that there has been change in their way of expression. It's wonderful to see this. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sachiyo, now I have a very personal question for you.
Yes.
So you have been through some very difficult challenges in life, like everybody. How has Viniyoga helped you face these challenges? Because obviously you did not allow these challenges to kind of destroy you. You are so strong now, and you are inspiring so many other students. So can you share about how the Viniyoga has helped you in overcoming some of these challenges?
Yes, of course. I'm very happy to answer. First is, of course, the power of the practice, and all the teaching I have received is in my cells and in my heart. So also the presence of my teachers, all the combination is just supported me. And I'm sorry. Yes. Yes. And I feel that this is yoga. Not only the practice. Practice is very important, of course, but not only the practice. And it's supported by all the teaching what my teacher taught me. And actually the teacher is always there for me, even though physical distance is far away. But I know that my teacher is always watching me, and it's there when I need it. This is really the only the teaching of this tradition.
It's exactly why I asked the question, because yoga is not just doing some asanas and standing upside down, but it actually has to have some meaningful impact on our personal lives. And you are a great example for this. And you are therefore inspiring a lot of people, at least in Japan, I know so far. But now probably through this interview, you are going to be touching the hearts of many people outside of Japan as well. So thank you for sharing that. And I'm so sorry that I asked that delicate and difficult question.
Not at all. Is
now,
it finished already?
Let's go to some very joyful, positive aspects.
Okay.
Now, what I want to ask you is, because you have also had the great chance to also study with my father. I'm wondering if you would like to share one or two positive and very joyful memories that you had with him, you know?
Yes, well, even though it's positive and joyful, I know I could easily cry if it comes to your father. But still, it's from the happiness.
Crying is okay.
Yes. Yes, since this is a very good opportunity that I can speak to many people, so I tell, this is my very special memory with your father. One day, your family kindly invited me to lunch. And after that, suddenly your father offered me a ride to my guest house. He said, I will drive you to my guest house. Where are you staying? I was so shocked. Oh my God. And I said, I stay here. And then he said, okay, I know the place. I know the place. Okay. And then he took me to his car. And then I got in the car. And I was just alone with your father. And I could not speak, even though such a great opportunity. And then to my guest house, it was not so far away. So the time will go quickly. Then on the way, there was, it's just a street, middle of the street, but there's a place, always children are playing. And then there, the car had to go very slowly because of some other car was also there. We are just slowly driving. Then your father told me, see these children, they are so happy. See their faces, their smile, they are so happy, but they don't have anything. You know, you see only the steel, garbage of steel from the cars or bicycles, just, you know, pile on the street, but they are just keep playing so happily and joyfully. Remember that. He told me that. And that time I felt, I know what he's saying, but I didn't get really what he's really meant. It was in me all the time. And still, of course, it's in me. It was really a deep message. And yes, I'm sorry, it's not joyful message, but I mean a joyful episode, but.
Touching, it's very touching and very meaningful. And that's the beauty also of India sometimes, is that many of the poor people in India, they have very little, but yet they are so happy. Even now during the pandemic, even though they don't have oxygen, they are very happy, you know. Whereas in many very, very wealthy countries, I see that even though people have lots and lots of luxuries, the happiness is not there. And somehow that's the multi-million-dollar question. What makes somebody happy? Is it the material things or is it something else? And I think that's what my father was trying to teach you at that time. You know? And I'm so sure that you will not want to share this story, but with your permission, I'm going to share this.
I know what you're going to say. Please.
There's also a very, very special story which Sachiyo is responsible for. And this is that it's a very fascinating story. So many years ago, I think it was in the year 2005 or so, my whole family was going to visit Japan. And we were in Kyoto. And both you and Chucky were showing us around some places. And when we were in the Kyoto, we were actually in the evening, we were waiting for to have dinner. And so we went to that restaurant, to one restaurant, Indian restaurant, to have dinner. So we put my father, my mother, my sister, my wife of that time, and also my daughter, everybody in the restaurant, and me and Chucky were actually waiting outside for you because you were running a bit late. I think you were coming from some other place, so you had to take the train or something. So we were waiting outside so that you don't get lost. And by the time my father and the other people in the family, they were already ordering and we started to eat. They didn't want to wait for us somehow. And it was so funny because when we went there, eventually when you, me and Chucky went there, my father came very excited saying, oh, Kausthub, you should eat this. It's very delicious, very delicious. And so I asked my father what it is, and my father just looked at my sister, and my sister said, oh, it's keema naan. And I said, what? And yeah, it's very delicious. It's very delicious. I said that keema naan means it's a naan with it's a bread, Indian bread with meat, with beef, because keema means minced beef. And no, it's just bread with nuts because it says in the description. Unfortunately, in the restaurant, they had just put the description in English as special Indian bread with nuts. So, of course, they've already also had nuts in it, but they also had meat. So, when we called the cook and asked him whether it was vegetarian or not, it had beef, and the cook confirmed that it had beef. My God, everybody was so shocked. And my father, I remember, tried to go to the bathroom to try and vomit what he had eaten, but unsuccessfully. So he had to start drinking lots of hot water. So, you are responsible for my father eating meat on time by accident. But it was an accident. But that was one of the funniest stories. And very interestingly, if you remember, Sachiyo, last year, not last year, about 2019, the last time I visited Japan, we did a seminar in the Kyoto, and we did go to the same restaurant in honor of this extraordinary story. So in honor of this extraordinary story, so we had to to this extraordinary restaurant, which is there. But luckily this time we didn't order the keema naan. We just ordered.
Very good. I'm so relieved.
Had you come on time, my poor father would not have had this experience. So you are responsible, my dear.
Yes, I know. How can I forget Kausthub? And to your father.
Don't worry, I think we have laughed, me and my father, we have laughed about the story. We have laughed so many times about the story after that incident. It was shocking for him, and a very big joke in the
Yes, but I still remember the silence after you told to everyone.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so that is
thank you for
that Sachiyo is definitely responsible for. So Sachiyo, I have another question for you. Among all the tools of Viniyoga that you are teaching, you are practicing, what is your personal favorite for yourself to practice, and tell us why that is the case?
Definitely the Vedic chanting.
Okay. Why?
Yes. The reason is the first, before I knew what is Vedic chanting, like I said, when I looked up the website of KYM, even though I didn't know what you're going to teach there in the school, it mentioned about the Vedic chanting. So if this school wasn't right for me, I definitely take this Vedic chanting class. Somehow it drawn to me. I was drawn to the chanting, and I can't really explain or describe this feeling, but every time I take in a class with my teacher chanting, I feel I just want to be absorbed in this world of Veda or something like that. And also when I go to teach and I sit in front of the students, not just chanting class, just asana class or lecture class, whatever. But every time I sit in front of the students, what I want to do is just chant and leave class. I feel that somehow. Of course, I don't do that, but I feel that everything I want to say is there. And I even feel that I'm practicing yoga to understand the Veda, the Vedic chanting, what it chants. Of course, as an effect, all the effects it gives me, and then clarity or refreshment on the strength, or my voice changed. Everything is also there. The breathing pattern change, everything's there. And yes, I'm just drawn to the Vedic chanting very, very much. It's very special. And if I can add one more, the bhavana is very, very special. I believe that the bhavana is very much key for the practice and every practice, and then to make the practice efficient. And also, it was my first practice. It changed me very much, was the bhavana in this tradition.
That's so good. That's so good. I'm very happy to hear that. Yeah, and Vedic chanting is also a very powerful tool, and I can easily understand that you enjoy it as well. I can easily understand. Many people now are realizing the power of chanting, and especially the Vedic chanting, the way it is traditionally, and so many people are embracing it around the world. So it's great.
Yes.
So Sachiyo, one of the probably the last questions, maybe if not the last one, unless our participants audience have a question for you. What I want to ask you is, how does Viniyoga resonate with you as a woman? Because woman's body changes quite a bit during her lifetime, and there is adolescence, and you have started yoga very young, very young in your life. Then you also became a mother. You've been pregnant, so your body and the mind and emotions changes during pregnancy. Then you are a mother after delivery, and that also takes a lot of physical effort and etc. And also slowly, if I can say, you are entering or going to enter menopause, and so that will also bring about changes in your body, in your mind, in your emotions. How has Viniyoga been a good companion for you in this time? Has it been a good companion at all? How has it sustained you?
It's amazingly supporting me. I keep saying this word, but it is true that it's really fortunate I have this teaching in my life. Your ancestor Natamani that taught and then advised and encouraged the women to practice yoga, and I really appreciate this view, and as a life giver. And also, like you mentioned, the yoga for men and yoga for women, it can be very different through the life, and women's go through changes physically, not only physically, but mentally and emotionally. And all this, and it involves to my practice as well, very much. But I could consult my teacher, and whatever happens or what kind of problem I have that time, I could consult to my teacher. And I really appreciate that. And then my teacher is there, always there to support me.
That's wonderful. So you do believe that there is a difference between teaching yoga to men and teaching yoga to women, right?
Yes, very much. Of course, male's life is also, I understand that it's very difficult, but the women's life and the men's life is quite different. And then women can have more roles, and it can change to the, during the life stage of the life. And then physically, emotionally, everything changes. But this teaching can support many different kind of stage and levels. That's really wonderful.
And that is the beauty about our tradition, the Viniyoga tradition, which is that we don't have standardized practices for everything. We don't have standardized practices even for the same person throughout their lifetime. We are always sensitive to the life stage they are in, the context they are in, the health situation they are in, always finding the practice. And this is very unique to our tradition, and it is not part of any other tradition. Actually, the rest of the tradition are usually focused on standardized approaches. You know, there is level 1, level 2, level 3, etc. And people have to fit that levels, and it's a very big difference. And so we are very privileged, and I'm very glad that you have benefited from these individualizations in your yeah. Let's just see if there's any question.
Of course.
So Sachiyo, what's the last thing that you want to tell all the audience for today?
Last thing I want to tell to everyone, I'm sure that everyone who is here already appreciate this teaching. So what else I can tell? Just from my experience, if you focus on the practice or teaching, it gives you back much more, and then you can go deeper to yourself, or deeper happiness, or deeper strengths you could never imagine, and it can show your gift of life more, and then just enjoy the teaching, and then keep linking in your own way to your teachers, and enjoy your life. That's all.
That is the best thing we can do, right?
Yes. Exactly.
Excellent. Thank you, Sachiyo, for finally agreeing to do this interview. It has been a wonderful moment to talk to you, and I'm very glad that you did it. And I'm very glad that you.
My pleasure.
I'm very glad you've been very genuine and honest about everything. So thank you so much for that.
Oh, I could talk more, but yes, I finished here, and I'm very, very happy that I could share some of my comments and opinions. Thank you very much for offering me this opportunity, Kausthub.
It's my pleasure. Namaste, Sachiyo. Thank you. And
Namaste, Kausthub.
And namaste to all of you for being here on this wonderful occasion of our conversation with Sachiyo. In another 2 weeks, we will have our next interview. Namaste, friends.